Until the Vietnam War and then later the Afghanistan War, the American Revolution is the longest war in the United States history. And until the Civil War, it actually kills a higher percentage of Americans than any other war. But the war is fought in three different phases. The first phase, basically 1775 to 1778, the United States is fighting alone. And the battles are going to be focused mostly on New England, New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. The second phase, 1778 to 1781, the United States is no longer fighting alone. France comes in on the American side. And we're also going to see that the war is going to shift. It shifts to the American South, to the sea, and to the frontier. The third phase, 1781 to 1783, there's very little fighting. By 1781, American independence is assured. It's just a matter of negotiating the settlement in terms of how the post-war world is going to look. So this is a very calm and very period, and has very little fighting in it to begin with. 1775 to 1778, we have this first phase, and overall the British are going to basically be very reluctant to fight. Thomas Gage, we talked about him when it came to the battles of Lexington and Concord, is going to be replaced by two brothers, Major General William Howe, an Army commander, and Admiral Richard Howe, a naval commander. And they are both going to basically be very hesitant to attack and to completely embarrass the American cause. The British, they wanted peace. They do not want to they don't want to fight with their entire army. And so the Howe brothers are actually going to begin trying to negotiate with Washington in order to come up with a settlement with the war. I mean, they gave them a whole the kitchen sink to the colonies, but Washington is going to refuse for two reasons. One is a little bit of an ego trip, maybe, but it also makes sense in the fact that how they addressed Washington. They addressed Washington as Mr. Washington rather than General Washington. So is Washington's ego hurt? Well, maybe, but a bigger principle here is at play. When you boil it down, what is a general? A general is an officer in an army, and only nations have armies. I'm here in Wichita Falls. Wichita Falls doesn't have its own army. In any college you attend does not have an army. A nation has an army. So if the British refer to Washington as general, it means he's an officer of an army of a nation. And from the British point of view, he is a rebel fighting against their king. All right, and definitely not fighting for any sort of nation. So that's one of the reasons why the Howes don't call him general. And of course, Washington is going to insist that they do so because he believes that he is an officer of a army fighting for a nation. Another reason why Washington refuses the offer is because of the fact that the British do not recognize American independence. It's pretty much independence or nothing. And so these peace negotiations, they're going to basically just fall apart. In September of 1776, we're going to start seeing the fall of New York City. We have New York City is a very hard place to defend. And by September 21st, 1776, New York City is going to fall. But we then again find this little hesitant bug be infecting the Howe brothers. They're pushing Washington's army out of New York City, but they're not giving the death blow. And this failure to give a death blow, even though they beat Washington at a battle known as White Plains, they let him go. And this reluctance allows Washington to cross the Hudson into New Jersey and be able to save his army. The one thing that the British didn't understand until it was too late is as long as Washington was there with his army, he was, the revolution was going to be alive. You'll see this again during the American Civil War with Robert E. Lee. Lee's going to fight to the very end. The moment he's out of the battlefield, pretty much everything's going to fall apart. Well, change Lee to Washington, and you have the American Revolution. As long as Washington's in the field with an army, the revolution has a chance of succeeding. So why are they reluctant to fight? Well, it's a political embarrassment if you absolutely just basically try and fight this way and fight the war the way it really should be fought. You'd have treason trials, you'd have executions, you'd have bitterness, and this is a people that you want to do commerce with. So what's it going to, how's that going to affect your interests if you're fighting somebody and killing off their leaders, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, now let's play nice and let's go ahead and make some money at the same time. That's really not going to work. So the British are going to, in this first stage, not fight very hard in order to make sure that the rebellion is very limited in its scope and also in the number of people affected, so that you don't have to have the embarrassing prospect of hanging people. So this is one of the reasons why the British are so reluctant to fight at this early stage.